clothed in majesty. Let all the earth rejoice. Let all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light. Darkness tries to hide, trembles at his voice, trembles at his voice. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? And all will see how great is our God.
Health officials describe people at the greatest risk when it comes to the coronavirus as those with underlying conditions, kidney disease, lung disease, heart disease. What they're saying is, if you have any of these underlying conditions, you're at a greater risk of suffering more extreme symptoms should you contract the virus. If you happen to have this one problem, it's going to be even worse if you have some of these other problems. Well, that's really not a big surprise. Not in medical terms, not even in day-to-day life, because I like to describe that as tough times on top of tough times. A lot of us are already struggling with some serious, issues before COVID-19 came along. It came along and it just made things tougher. You were already fighting an uphill battle, and for whatever the situation was, it was already bad. It just got worse. Of course, you could look at the flip side of this and could determine that perhaps everything was going fine before COVID-19. The virus came along, and maybe you got some of the associated complications, financial, medical, emotional. Either way, a relatively good time turned into an unforeseen hard time, and that rapidly developed into a crisis of unimaginable proportions. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. In either scenario, you still got hard times, and those are tough times on top of tough times, otherwise known as underlying conditions. Let me start by offering some encouraging words. Maybe you've heard some of these before. Through it all, while you're working and waiting for your breakthrough or your change to come, there's still one question that rings out. Why? Why am I suffering? Why is my suffering compounded? Why? Some of us may be able to look at our current situation and maybe even look back in our lives and see how we've lived it. And at some point, we could come to the recollection that, my Lord, maybe I had this coming. And then others of us, we may look and say, look, I've been good. I've done nothing wrong. I've been faithful. My God, why is this happening to me? That might be what you're saying. Regardless of what you're saying, I would like to use the story of Job from the Old Testament as a reminder of some of the things about where we find ourselves today. In Job chapter 1, verse 1, it reads, "There once was a man named Job who lived in the land of Uz. He was blameless, a man of complete integrity. He feared God and stayed away from evil." There's something in the book of Job for all of us. Although it appears to be written more for believers and followers of God, it has more than several messages directed towards the believer. Here are 3 things I would like you to remember. Number 1, pain is not always punishment. Satan suggests that Job would not worship God if God did not protect him. So what does God do? He allows Satan to test Job. In Job, verse 1, chapter 9, it reads, Satan replied to the Lord, yes, but Job has good reason to fear God. In 10, he says, you've always put a wall of protection around him, his home, his property. You've made him prosper in everything he does. Look how rich he is, but reach out and take away everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. Being and doing good doesn't always exclude you from pain and suffering. But you can take comfort in the fact that pain is not always punishment. Number 2, God cares for you, and for that very reason, he does not act indiscriminately or arbitrarily. In James chapter 5, verse 10 and 11, it reads, for examples of patience and suffering, dear brothers and sisters, look at the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. We give great honor to those who endured under suffering. For instance, you know about Job, a man of great endurance. You can see how the Lord was kind to him at the end, for the Lord is full of tenderness and mercy. Now, I got to tell you, God was not gambling with Satan. He knew how Job would respond through the test. When you're going through, you can rest assured that God knows you. He knows your pain and he knows your fears. That's why he says in his word, cast your cares on him because he cares for you. Number 3, it is better to know God than to know the answer. How well did Job know God? Well, Job knew God good enough to follow his instructions for living right, and that was evidenced by how blessed he was. Subsequently, when hard times hit, he was able to adapt to the situation and remain reverent toward God. He later, of course, revealed that he had some questions. Many of us have questions, and today we're no different. But could our questions stem from our lack of trust in God? Or does our lack of trust stem from us not working on our relationship with God? Additionally, does all that lead us to question God's ability to take care of us through any and everything? One of the main themes of the book of Job is that we trust God even though we don't know what's going on behind the scenes in our life. The book of Job teaches us to trust God under all circumstances. We must trust God not only when we don't understand, but because we don't understand. It is better to know God than to know the answer. Lastly, I would like to point out that Job was a leader. He was a leader in his community, and the people watched him very closely as he was going through because they understood that the trials and the tests would be a great revelation of his character. Job was a good leader. Currently, people are looking for someone who can help them through these difficult times. They're looking for a leader, in short. Leaders with qualities that will be able to stand the test of these tough times that often come with underlying conditions. It's times like these that are defining moments in a leader's legacy, moments that can result in greatness or the exact opposite. During tough times, leaders create a new vision. They generate support for that new vision, and they help to transform fears into excitement. Right now, here's some of the things we should be seeing from our leadership. Number 1, they should be taking responsibility. Leaders step up and take responsibility for the conditions of things as they are, even if it's an outside, external condition like a virus. They have the bravery and the courage and the strength to embrace the situation and help to carry the people through the circumstances. They take full responsibility of the situation, and that, along with taking total ownership, may be the single most critical leadership attribute in tough times. Number 2, establish a clear vision. People need a clear vision so that they can have confidence in the future at the same time. It can also help them all get on the same sheet of music and align themselves and their behavior with the success of the vision, a leader should also take the same actions that he expects his people to take. We call that leading by example. Number 3, a leader should always tell the truth. Good leaders will communicate honestly, quickly, and completely as possible. In trying times, people tend to distrust, but good, honest, timely, frequent, and complete communication can help to build and ensure and enhance trust. Good leaders don't sugarcoat the truth because people deserve the truth. Number 4, good leaders listen. Listen to the fears, the pains and frustrations of the people. When people are afraid, they put all their energy into their fears and they spread them. That can lead to chaos and widespread panic. Good leaders, number 5, they balance short and long-term needs. In times like these, a good leader can balance immediate needs like safety and security and survival with the future needs of economic health and political stability. Finally, I would like you to remember that an arrow can only be shot by pulling it backward. So when life is dragging you back with difficulties, it means it's going to launch you into something really great. Thanks for listening, and God bless you.